Breaking news. The LA Clippers have agreed to a contract extension for Ivica Zubac. What does it mean for the team and Zoo, and is it a good deal? Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA and entering my 20th season as a Clipper fan this fall. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper, LA Sports, and NBA content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, where I want you to let me know how you feel about the decision for the Clippers to re-sign or extend Ivica Zubac, basically give him a new contract, and it's hefty. Not really, though. It's actually a great deal, in my opinion. I'm going to be talking about why. I'm also going to be talking about how the Clippers can mess this up and make it so that this deal was a complete waste, and what this means for other players. Now, before we get into that, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. But, oh, baby. In my opinion, this is great news. Ivica Zubac getting signed to an extension, 3 years, $58.6 million. So that's less than $20 million per year. The last year of the contract in the 2027-2028 season. So this is in effect after this next year. So it'll be 2025, 26, 26, 27, and 27, 28 after his current contract expires. And I'm going to go to just to give you guys a number, what his contract is now and how much more he's going to be getting paid. But the fact that he's essentially not going to be making even $20 million a year for how solid of a player he is, I think this is a steal. I think this is a great deal. Maybe not a steal, but it's a very good deal for the Clippers. It's team-friendly. We're not over the second apron. This is part of why we didn't sign Paul George to that huge deal, because we wouldn't have been able to do these kinds of deals. Zoo currently is making, if you round up, $12 million this season. The exact number is $11,743,210. So that's an insane deal. I mean, Zubac is much better than that. He's going to be getting paid between $18 to $21 million for those 3 years. I think that's a fantastic deal in today's market. Now, mind you, Isaiah Hartenstein is getting paid more. And Ivica Zubac started over Isaiah Hartenstein. Isaiah Hartenstein's getting $30 million next year. $30 million. So basically, I mean, next year he'll be making almost $20 million more dollars. I mean, the fact that we have that kind of deal with Zoo is amazing, because I love Isaiah Hartenstein, but he is not better than Zoo. He is not, in my opinion. And you know what? I think there's a lot of people right now that are saying, like, dude, you're such an idiot. Like, Ivica Zubac isn't good, like, all this stuff. Let's just address that now. Because me talking about why I think this is good or how great I think this is doesn't mean anything, because there's a bunch of people out there, even Clipper fans, some, not many of them that show up to the games, but there are some even that I know that come to the games and think that Zoo is, like, weak. Like, he's overrated. Clipper fans are too high on him. He's slow-footed. He can't guard on the perimeter. He can't shoot the ball. All this. By the way, Clint Capella is making $22 million next year. And if you've watched the Atlanta Hawks, you'll know that Clint Capella, the last 2 years, is one of the biggest reasons that they've fallen off so much. He's only 30 years old. He shouldn't be falling off like this, but his finishing around the rim is nowhere near Zubac. His rim protection is nowhere near Zubac. I mean, Clint Capella is not the same Clint Capella. And you know what? So before I get into why I think this is so great from my perspective, let's just talk about Zoo as a player. Zoo as a player got traded to us from the Lakers, one of Magic Johnson's last great assists, right here to the other LA team, and we gave up Mike Muscala. Like, it's to this day, Laker fans will still mention it. And honestly, I will say, when a Laker fan says something bad about Magic, because of that deal, I get really defensive because it's like, as a Clipper fan, I'm just like, yeah, so Magic traded Ivica Zubac, who's like going to be he's a great role player in the NBA. I don't think he'll ever be a star, but he traded that. And you're calling him like certain names and stuff like that, but he literally is arguably the greatest Laker to ever walk this. It's him and Kobe right there next to each other. It's like, I just think as a Clipper fan, my team hasn't won a championship. Like, if anybody did what Magic Johnson did for my franchise, I would never get mad at him for trading a role-playing center in a bad trade one time. Like, it's just insane the way some fans of privileged teams talk, like just teams with rings, like made a lot like that. Like, it's just insane to me. The lack of appreciation at times is appalling. But the point is, Magic, legend, gave us Zoo. And he played 26 games in that 2019 season. And we saw immediately, or at least I saw immediately, that he was a better rim protector than Gortat. He was, quicker on his feet. He was more athletic. Gortat was past it. And it was a young player we were picking up that we are going to give a chance to develop. He averaged 9 points and 8 boards on 54% shooting right away, which made him a lock to start the following year, even though Montrezl Harrell was incredible for us in 2019. And in the 2020 season, he played 72 games and started 70 of them, but he only played 18 games due to Montrezl Harrell's 6th Man of the Year campaign. He averaged 8 points and 7.5 rebounds, which was slightly below the 2019 numbers. But it was his first full year starting. He shot 61%, and his pick and roll chemistry with Kawhi was pretty good. And in the playoffs, in the first round, he was fantastic against Dallas. And then in the second round, him not playing more minutes is part of the reason we lost. Glenn Rivers played Montrez because he was our 6th Man of the Year, and he was so good throughout the season, but he could not guard Jokic, and all his flaws were being exposed. His grandma also just passed away, so he wasn't in a rhythm. And Zubac, as we know now, is actually one of the best Jokic defenders in the league, and he didn't play him enough and was extremely stubborn about it and ignored data. This is Glenn Rivers I'm talking about. So that season further proved that we have a great, solid player on our hands, or a good young player on our hands. Then the following season, he didn't start in the beginning because we got Serge Ibaka, and then Serge had the injury problems. So then Zoo started towards the end of the season, 33 games overall, played the exact same number as 2020. But here's the thing, 72 games was the season. So he didn't miss a game in 2020 or 2021. And that's going to be one of my biggest talking points and reasons why this is a good deal and why Zubac is so great, is because he's super durable. He's super durable, and I'm not even going to knock on wood. Zubac, I believe in him. This past season, he actually missed 14 games, which is the most he's missed in any season as a Clipper. And he started, obviously, every game he played in, 68 games. But that 2022 season, in my opinion, was just a little bit of a step up. He had a career high in minutes, 24 minutes, averaged 10 points and 8.5 rebounds on 63% shooting, so very solid there. But the minutes are still weird, right? 24 minutes, he's a guy that starts. It's because Isaiah Hartenstein was so good. And then 2023, this is when the year that we didn't have a backup center, and we looked awful with him off the court that first half of the season. He was anchoring our defense to begin with all the injuries we had with Paul George and Kawhi. He was the only reason why our team was even at 500 level. 11 points, 9.9 rebounds that season for Zoo, and he averaged a block a game on 63% shooting. And just like in 2022, played 76 games and started all 76 games. So again, we're talking about not missing a game 2020 and 2021 seasons, and then only missing 6 in both 2022 and the 2023 season. I mean, this is durability. And he's averaging a near double-double, and he's not getting 30 minutes. And if you listen to this show enough, you know that I think if Zoo was to get 30 minutes or were to get 30 minutes, he's averaging a double-double with ease. Zoo is a very good rim protector. I don't know how people can push back on that. He's a very good rim protector. He averaged a career-high 12 points last year, 9 rebounds a game. Again, did not get 30 minutes. Actually got less than 2023 with 26.4. Shot almost a career high, actually. Second most efficient season of his career, 64.9% from the field. So 65% from the field. That's extremely efficient. Obviously, most of his shots come from around the rim, but 12 points, 9 rebounds, and a block. Again, there's no reason to me why he should not be playing 30 minutes this season. Is he not, does he not have the stamina? I disagree with that. He should have the stamina. He's 7 years old. So we're basically guaranteeing that Zoo's going to be here for his prime, which is great in my opinion. Now, the pushback comes from people saying, well, he can't shoot. Okay, I don't think you need your center to shoot. I don't think you need him to shoot. I think now you need your 4 probably to shoot a little bit from 3. Because back in the day, 4s could shoot, but it's about 3s, right? Spacing. The thing about it was Westbrook and Zoo together made it a little bit, like it brought out a little bit more of Zoo's flaws because, Russ can't shoot like that. But you don't have to have your center shoot. You want him setting hard screens, rolling to the basket, and finishing around the rim. And one thing that we hated about DeAndre Jordan is that he had no post game and no touch around the basket. Zubac has one of the best touches around the basket. Statistically shot like 72% around the rim this year, something like that. I mean, he's a very solid player. Yes, he's not a switchable big, but there are only a couple bigs in the league that actually can switch onto the perimeter and do. Like Bam Adebayo, Anthony Davis, Miles Turner. We saw what happened to Rudy Gobert, who is more mobile than Zoo, when he got switched onto the perimeter in the playoffs. Like, did you watch Jonas Valanciunas and Sabonis and Clint Capella and some of these centers last season? Is Brook Lopez a switchable center? Like, I think people are so unfair with Zoo because people don't like the slower white European bigs and because he's not that athletic. But Zoo is strong. He's got great touch around the basket, and he's a good rim protector. He's a great drop big. Yeah, and people were saying he was unplayable in the playoffs. This past season, he literally averaged 16 points and 11 rebounds in the playoffs and was arguably the best player in that series for us. He was definitely the most, he was 16 and 9. He was definitely the most consistent player in the series. You could argue Harden was the best player in the series. That's the only other person I'm hearing for that argument. But 16 points, everybody was saying he was unplayable in the playoffs. But again, yes, he's a drop specialist, but he's a very solid player. But coming up, I'm going to tell you how the Clippers can mess this up. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, but we have something a little different for you. Right now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Yeah, NFL Sunday Ticket for free. That's pretty hype. I would do it. Now, talking about bets for this upcoming NFL season and the opening weekend, the Philadelphia Eagles are -2.5 against the Packers. Bears -4.5 against the Titans. That'll be Caleb Williams' debut as a Chicago Bear. And you can go to FanDuel to place bets on all of these games. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sports book. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers your first listen of the day. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On NBA podcast. There is no offseason in the NBA, and Locked On NBA provides daily basketball analysis from national and local experts in 30 minutes or less. No one keeps you as informed and entertained as Locked On NBA. Available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. All right, so again, I know there's going to be people pushing back and saying Zoo is slow-footed. It's like, look, yeah, he is a little slow-footed. He's not a switchable big. But again, there's only a couple bigs in the league that can switch 1 through 5 like that. In terms of rim protection, which is extremely important in basketball, he's one of the best in the league. That's proven. We've seen it. In terms of one-on-one defense, also very solid. It's just there's some, I'll say this about Zoo. There's some games when it's bad for him that he looks really soft. He's like not playing physical. He just doesn't look as engaged. But then there are other games where he looks like a monster and he's going up strong and trying to dunk. Anytime Zoo's trying to dunk over somebody, I know what kind of time he's on. So if you're a Clipper fan, just pay attention to that next season. Because there are the games when it's low for Zoo, it's really low. It's like, oh man, he's not finishing. He's not making free throws. He's a big confidence guy too. Remember, now he's in his prime. He's entering it. But he was a young player these last couple of years. He's learning. He's trying to get more confident. And I'll tell you what's going to really help him this year is James Harden being one of the best pick and roll players in the history of the game, one of the best passers of his generation. We have him having Zoo for a full training camp. We saw how many easy bunnies Zoo was getting right when Harden came to the team because of James' ability to make that floater. And of course, they had to go over the screen with him, unlike Westbrook. And James, he's an underrated off the dribble shooter. If we're talking the history of the game, really. I'm saying the history of the game because he's historically great at it. You know, if you go under the screen with him, yeah, a lot of teams won't go under the screen on good shooters, but James Harden's not just a good shooter, he's a fantastic three-point shooter. So you have to go over the screen with him. And that's when he gets to make a play. And Zubac isn't the vertical threat that Clint Capella was for him. But he can still finish. He can still finish around the basket. And the thing about Zoo is, even when you haven't created a wide-open layup for him, if he gets the ball 6 feet in, he's hitting that jump hook. And I will tell you now how the Clippers can mess this all up. So, by the way, I do think having James Harden for a full training camp is going to be huge for Zoo. But the way the Clippers can mess this up is this. They've already been kind of messing it up. See, there's a big reason why people hate on Zoo's game and his ability not to shoot. Is because they don't appreciate what he does do well. And that is he's a solid post player. And the post game is, people say the mid-range is a lost art in today's game. I think it's a lost art relative to the past. But the great players still make the mid-range shot and have to take the mid-range shot, especially in drop coverage. It's always there. The post game is a lost art. That's a fact. It's not taught the same way as a kid. It's, I'd say, easier to double out of the post given the zone legalization thing about the NBA after the 01-02 season. But that's, to me, it's overblown extremely because you can still post stuff. Like, you can still post. Zoo does it. Jokic does it. You just got to fight for post position at the end of the day. A lot of these players aren't good enough to get doubled before the ball gets there. Jokic is, but a lot of these other players, maybe Embiid, they're not getting no one's doubling Zoo before the ball gets there. You know what I'm saying? So, unless he's really feeling it. So, for me, we don't go to Zoo enough in the post and make him a go-to guy. And this season, especially after giving him this contract, not saying it's a huge contract, but now, we've locked him down long-term and have committed to him, and he's the longest tenured Clipper. He's so available. Let's feed Zoo. Throw him the ball at least 4 to 5 times a night. There is no Paul George anymore. There's only so much Kawhi and Harden can do from a workload standpoint. And we don't have an elite shot creator outside of them. We don't know what's going to happen with Bones and KPJ. Zoo throwing him the ball on that left block, that right-hand jump hook is money. But the last 2 seasons, what's been the needle mover for me, he has a left-hand jump hook now. Before, he could not spin over that right shoulder. He never did. Anytime they hugged his left shoulder, we'd almost turn the ball over. Now he's got that in his game. And there's not many players in the league that have jump hooks over both shoulders with both hands. They just don't. It's not maybe some of the European bigs, but today's bigs are in America are learning more face-up skills. So we got to utilize that. Otherwise, there's no point. He's just a rim roller. And he's a better player than that. So the Clippers can mess it up. And I say the Clippers, I mean the coaching staff and the players. But I honestly put the coaching staff on watch first. If you don't make an effort to feed Zoo, you guys deserve a lot of blame. Then this is a mistake giving him this contract. I mean, honestly, even if they don't, he's still probably worth this contract because he's good at other things and defensively he's awesome. But nah, feed him. You're wasting talent essentially. So that's how you can mess it up. He should be our third option, no questions asked. For a team that struggles to get easy baskets and get in the paint and is going to struggle even more this year, you're telling me that giving the ball to Zoo 6 feet away from the basket or 8 feet away from the basket is bad strategy? See, the only pushback to me is, well, he's not a great playmaker out of the double. Well, how the hell is he going to learn how to get better if you don't give him reps? I'm very passionate about this subject because I've said it for many, many months. Give him the ball. What more does he have to do? He's one of the most, I don't want to say loyal, but kind of. I mean, he's been all about this team. He's available. He's just been our guy. He's been our starting center. He's great with the fans. Everybody that I know that has met him, that has been around Zoo, has only said good things. Come on. And he's spoken about the Clipper brand organization very fondly. So, I mean, the least we can do is throw him the ball 4 to 5 times a game on the block. especially with his efficiency numbers. Like the data checks out. Come on, fellas. Coming up, though, what does this mean for the other players on our team and the financial situation that we're in? Going to be talking about that coming up. All right, reacting to Ivica Zubac getting a 3-year, $58.6 million contract extension, which ties him to the franchise for $70 million through the 27-28 season, man. Less than $100 million is great business. We are not over the second apron. It's fantastic. Now, what does this mean for Terrence Mann? Because he's the next one that's going to want an extension or want more money. And if we don't agree to an extension with him during the season, he's going to be getting suitors next offseason. And depending on how the season goes for him, there might be certain deals we won't be able to match. And I want Terrence to be a Clipper for life. But if you're talking about what's next, that's what's next. Terrence Mann and his contract negotiations. Because he was the other guy when we talked about Paul George. If we go over that second apron, we're not going to be able to re-sign Terrence and Zoo to what we want. We already now have re-signed Zoo. Terrence is making $11 million this year. So his contract expires. I really hope he stays a Clipper, man. I really hope so. And I think we just got to get the business done. But let's see what Terrence Mann does. Is he worth even extending? Right? This season is going to be huge for Terrence. Absolutely huge. Is he going to be given the blessing to start again? Given that Derek Jones and him. If Terrence is not letting the ball fly from 3, that offense is going to be tough. Because you have Zoo as a non-shooter. And then you have 2 guys, one of which is not a great shooter in Derek Jones. And then Terrence, who's a good but hesitant shooter and doesn't believe he's as good as he is from 3. So then our offense is going to get tough to watch. And we might have to start Norman Powell instead. So we'll see. Bruce Brown, his Massachusetts homie, Terrence Mann, got $20+ million. So I think Terrence is going to search for a contract that's about $20 million a year. Basically something in the same ballpark of Zoo. But, Zubac, taking that deal when his agents are like, what, Jeff Schwartz, and I forget the other guy's name, Mike Lindemann or something. Let me look it up because I don't want to be inaccurate on this show. If it's a Zubac, but I'm pretty sure one of them is, what's his name? Jeff Schwartz. There we go. Jeff Schwartz and Mike Lindemann. So, I don't know. They could have done maybe a better job. But here's the thing. We don't know if Zoo's saying, I want to be here. That deal's cool with me. I just want to be a Clipper. Into a dome. By the way, Zoo is going to be the first Clipper center whose jersey Montrez technically was playing center. I had a Montrez jersey, but I got it off DHgate. Does that really count? I'm going to get a real jersey for Zoo. It's going to be the white one. And I've never gotten a Clipper white jersey, ever. I've never gotten a home jersey, which is wild, right? Because I've been a fan for nearly 20 years, but I've never gotten a white jersey. Zubac, baby. It's my cop, and then blue is going to be Nico. Red, we'll see. Up for grabs. I want a red jersey because I've been waiting so long for new jerseys. I've been wanting that logo change so I can buy jerseys for my favorite team again. But even though I have a Terrence and a Kawhi blue, because that blue one was the only one I could tolerate. But yeah, that third jersey's up for grabs. Norm, I love Norman Powell, but I don't know. I don't know if he's jersey worthy. James Harden, not my cup of tea. I don't know who else I would really get a jersey for. They'd have to, do some. Derek Jones, not yet. But anyways, and I already have a Kawhi jersey, so I'm not a big fan of getting duplicates. But yeah, I guess that could be something you could say in the comments. What other jersey should I get? And if I mentioned their name, like Norm Harden or whatever, and I said no, that means no. Let me know what you think, though, of the contract. I know there's going to be so many Zoo haters in the comments, but whatever. I disagree with you, and I think you're wrong. Straight up. I just think you're wrong, and I'm right. I think a lot of Clipper fans that I think know basketball also agree that I'm right. And I think a lot of people around the league know that Zoo's good. If the Phoenix Suns had Ivica Zubac instead of Nurkic, they would be an actual threat. Promise you that. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Congratulations, Zoo. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Let me know in the comment section what you think of the deal and what jersey I should cop for my red one. The age-old proverb continues, go Zubac, go Clippers. The longest tenured Clipper extending his tenure.